is mental illness? I mean,
I think it's basically a breakdown of one's mental state, one's mental functioning. It can affect cognition, it can affect mood, it can affect perception, it can affect one's functioning in the community or in daily living. For me, certainly, it did affect my social and community life, my work life, my study life, my relationship life, things like that. So, yeah, it's had a substantial effect on my life and also development, I think.
Okay.
Like, I think when you have mental illness, you do develop, but you develop a little bit slower, probably. You have a sort of a delayed phase of development.
Okay.
I began to have problems at school with making friendships and the pressure that I felt. I was on a scholarship, and the pressure that I felt to succeed. And I felt that it was just school got harder. You know, in year 9 and 10, school got harder. It was more competitive than it was in grades 4, 5, 6 when I started. And I think that as I tried to sort of rematch my early success, I found that hard to do, and my mind was breaking apart on me.
Yeah.
And in that kind of maelstrom that resulted, I felt that, you know, I just was so confused. I couldn't concentrate. I couldn't keep my mind on the job. I think people that are more sensitive to life and the parts of it tend to become a bit more prone to mental illness. Certainly drugs and illegal substances can trigger mental illness, but I think that a vulnerability to it is in people, and people that might be bullied or might be sensitive, as I said, might be more prone to it because they take every blow more wholly than others. Some people sort of bounce off things and, nothing worries them. But I think people that are maybe a bit more introspective or analytical perhaps, or critical in their thinking, can suffer mental illness more easily. I mean, certainly when you've got 6 policemen come into your family home of all your life and want you, and then, you not want them, and them sort of handcuff you and take you away in a divvy van or a police car.
It's not nice, is it? There's no nice way.
It's not nice, and you feel very alone and isolated, and like, where am I going? I didn't even know where I was going. I just knew I was going away, and it felt like a journey of about 100 miles, I can tell you. So I found that really difficult the first admission when I was 16, 17. I really did find that hard, and it was traumatic, and then the second admission was also traumatic because I was in a psychosis, and that was difficult, of course. And the third admission was sort of a little bit better because it was voluntary. I was suicidal, but I was sane, more or less, and I still went to uni, even though I was in hospital for a couple of weeks. So I think that hospital it's not good, but I think when you learn to accept that you need it, rather than other people tell you need it, it can become easier to deal with. And I wouldn't have any problem going to hospital now. If I had to, I feel I would have the support of my partner, my family, my friends. I'd let them know this is a more informed and educated way of doing things. I'm in my late 30s now. When I first went to hospital, I was about 16, as I said. So, I think that there's a big difference in age and development from how you become ready to face hospital and the stigma and associations with it.
Can I ask you? You're a homeowner. You're a worker. You have a job, or you have regular work. I know you just left your job to start another one. You take care of your hygiene. You have a social life. You have a partner. A lot of people with mental illness struggle to find those things. How have you got all that? How do you get work? How do you get a partner? How do you get a home? How do you get to have a social life? How do you take care of the hygiene? How do you get up in the morning? How do you because you're really thriving, even though you've had a mental illness. You're really
Well, I don't want to kind of put tickets on myself or anything. This is your words, Ian, but
no, but you know the point I'm making.
Well, I think you've got to have a goal and a desire to reach that goal. And once you've got that goal and you've got some basic functionality within that components of that goal, you can kind of say, right, now I want to vacuum the carpets, and I want to mop the floors, and I want to, clean the windows or something. Now, as long as you know how to do all those things, and I know how to do all those things, and you learn off people, your parents and people like that. So like you just got to have the will, and you've got a bit of anxiety can help stimulate people towards action, but I think excessive anxiety can obviously be crippling. When we notice things that we don't like about ourselves, not in a heavily critical way, but just in a notational way, and we say, yes, I want to improve that. Well, how am I going to do it? Then set up a strategy, then set up a method, then set up a plan. I mean, not everybody does follow this like this, but I do.
Yeah.
And then do it step by step, stone by stone, journey by journey. And like this is how I've approached my recovery. Figure out what I want to do, how I'm going to do it, and what resources I need or people that I need to enlist to help me do that, and then do it. And that doesn't always involve paid work. It may involve paid work as a means to get some of the resources to do these things, but a lot of that is hard work in one's personal and social life. I mean, for me, I've taken more like the mainstream version of recovery, I guess. And I think the frustration with the mainstream version of recovery is that a mainstream version of recovery tends to involve all the goods and chattels of a consumer lifestyle that may not be available to everybody. And I think that the problem with confusing a consumer lifestyle recovery, like you see on the magazines and you see on TV and you see on billboards and on train stations and so on, and thinking that is recovery, it's a bit of a problem. I think a lot of consumers seek that way of life as recovery, thinking like, oh, if only I could live like people out there do, or mainstream, whatever mainstream is. I think they think that is recovery, but having edged or inched their way towards it, they discovered that it actually doesn't deliver much of the freedom and autonomy that they'd hoped for. They think that the consumer lifestyle is going to deliver them this great life, but in fact it doesn't necessarily lead to the sort of satisfaction which it promises. I suppose it's the same with me too. Like, I enjoy having a unit to call our own. I enjoy living where I do in Box Hill in Melbourne. I enjoy having some nice furniture and some bookcases and some books and all the, virtually all the things that we need. I mean, we don't seriously lack a lot. We could always have more, but we don't lack a lot.
But maybe what you're saying is that your life has the same amount of issues as any normal person's life.
Yeah, and I think this is where it becomes like recovery as a mental health concept, or a recovery as a material concept. Like it's possible. It's more possible to achieve the material concept of recovery, like having material goods in one's life, or like a lifestyle as such. That's the sort of the buzzword. It's more possible to sort of achieve the lifestyle or the material goods in one's life to imitate this idea of recovery. But in fact, if your brain, if your mental health, your head is not well, you can kind of be malfunctioning even in that supposed state of recovery. So I think then the secondary issue, having attained sufficient material goods to be comfortable, or having a vocation, or having a job, or having a partner, or having a social life, the secondary, maybe it should really be the first issue, is how to become mentally well in recovery, not just materially well. So that is the challenge.